Memo.
Yeah, good news.
There
right
is a problem with buyers. From
There
Housing
is.
Wire, almost 40% of home shoppers are hitting the pause button until after the election, a recent survey says. So
I've been hearing this, Andy. It's been like, it's
Red
been
lights.
crazy. Yeah. But I've been hearing this. People are like, no, I'm just going to wait after the elections. Like, I think that our president's going to reduce our interest rates. They're like, people, the president does not have nothing to do with this.
that's not like a switch on a desk
It's not,
somewhere.
It's great that
Hold
they
on a
think
second.
that, you know?
I'll call you back. I
Yeah.
got to adjust this rate right here.
It ain't going to happen. It's not the president, remember. It's our economy. It's our jobs. There's a lot that goes into it.
So this survey of 900 prospective home buyers, which includes veterans, current active duty military members, and civilians. So they highlight some interesting splits between veterans and civilians. Only 25% of civilians plan to buy in the next 6 months. So basically by the end of the year. Let's just leave it at end of year, even though it spills over. 25% of civilians plan to buy. 40% of veterans. But when asked if they feel better about their finances compared to 1 year ago, 63% of veterans and 59% of civilians said yes.
Yeah.
That's still a lot, given the other nature of the economic stuff we talk about with inflation and costs and borrowing and all that. So these numbers are higher than a year ago, even though it is more difficult on people now than it was a year
No,
ago.
exactly. Your salaries, it's not like it's going to change. Affordability is still going to be a big issue, especially if we start seeing, the rates going down. That may just cause also your home purchase price to be higher. You know? And so it's just going to put them in a bad situation still.
I think it's a very much categorical. That was the word I was thinking of when you're saying that right now. Is that there's certain things I just have to buy. I got to buy food for my kids. Got to pay my utilities, put gas in the car, pay my insurance, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's things I can go without. Like I can go without eating out 3 times a week and go to 2 or back down to 1, or not at all if I can't even do that. That's more of I'll say a luxury. But categorically, there's just things you have to pay for, and I think that those things are just baked into the economy, and we see people pay with their credit cards instead of that. It's the psychology here that's interesting to me. Not because I'm a psych nerd. It's just because if 40% of these respondents are hitting the pause button, that represents a lot. I think of that mathematically. This is out of 900 people. Well, how about out of 100 million?
Yeah,
that's a lot of people that are like, yeah,
too many.
That's okay. But doesn't that strike your interest a little bit from our demand comments?
Oh yeah,
because we're like, oh, demand's still crazy.
Yeah,
but it's still crazy, and 40% are saying I'm going to hold.
Yeah,
what's that mean when they come back?
Yeah, things are just getting a lot more expensive. That's for sure.
You're gonna, and instead of like a bidding and escrow, we're gonna have to have fist fights in front of that's a parking lot. It's like in the driveways of houses, like winner take all.
Yeah.
So you might have to dust off those old boxing gloves and get.
I tell you,
get after it.
And here's a lot of things that are going on, like the new rule with NAR. All these things are just going to affect all that. It's going to have a huge impact. So this is just part of one of the stories, but we got other things that are going to just be even more impactful with all of this.
We have a great conversation coming up this week that airs after this episode, specifically about the NAR lawsuit with Friends of Mortgage Heroes. We had someone on, and we were talking about that in depth today.
Yeah.
So that is going to come out, and you can. Here's another reason why people might be hitting the pause button in addition to the election thing.
It's going to be a have to, right? It's not going to be a pause because I want to pause. It's a forced pause because now I have to come up with even more. Well, and who's going to pay the price? Is our active servicemen and women and our veterans.
This is one of the problems we talked about when the NAR lawsuit was announced. Is this is going to negatively impact specifically the VA community, active duty and veterans,
big time,
because they are not allowed to pay the buyer's broker fee.
Yeah.
So that rule was changed, but also I learned a couple of things about the NAR lawsuit and its impact starting in August. That will potentially not change anything at all. I think it just changes how we get to the final conclusion because there's like some new forms and some new ways. But when we're having this conversation, I'm thinking, you know what? This still ends up at the same conclusion. People are going to go, oh, I'm willing to pay the full price on the house so that I don't have to pay my agent out of pocket, which is how we do it now.
Yeah.
So materially, there could be like no change. The reason I mention the psychology of this is because it's 40% of home shoppers hitting the pause button until after the election. Like there's other reasons. So number one, this is like an election specific survey, but that's not the only reason. There could be other things like because of job loss or needing more money, affordability, other reasons that are personal and not really on a survey. So there's more than 40% of people that are just not shopping. Is really what I'm coming to. 40% is specific to this election anchor in this article.
I mean, cool article, but I think the information's,
It is a little bit, I I'll say partially skewed, just based on who the surveyor is.
Yeah.
It's not a problem necessarily, but even if I like chopping things in half for the sake of numbers on the show and people are watching on YouTube, even if it's not 40%, it's 20.
That's right.
That's a lot of people still.
Yeah. No, it totally is.
What would you be doing? Are you a buyer right now, or are you waiting after the election?
You know, here's the thing.
Well,
I'm buying with the opportunity, right?
That's what I'm saying. It's asking an election question. So, I don't care about the election outcome if I'm trying to buy a house.
But the difference is we understand that the election doesn't influence the interest rate is the different thing when the majority of people probably don't understand, right? So what's the saying? Like, people follow the herd, right? Some people that are the risk takers, they go against that. So I'm the one that's going to be going against that and just see an opportunity. We're taking it down. I mean, you saw last week, we took down 2 properties. It's what it is.
Yeah. The deal's a deal when it's a deal.
Exactly.
Regardless of anything else going on.
The numbers work out. You work them out now. You can't wait for later.
Yeah. So what, I mean, is that kind of like your base case for what you tell somebody who's kind of maybe like sitting on the fence of like, I don't know if I should buy until now or after the election to see who wins, whatever. Like, it sounds like you don't care about that. Is that the same advice you give people too?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Whatever's going to make the most sense, right? And that what's going to be factual.
Yeah.
Which fact is right now, if an opportunity presents itself, this is what you can rely and obtain now versus I don't know what's going to happen. You know, what if the person that you thought was going to get elected doesn't, and now everything just stays the same,
and you're still on the sidelines,
right? Like, and then it's like, why take that risk?
Yeah, and I get that, like, it's our job, like it's our business, it's our company. So of course we want people to buy homes, we want people to refinance. But at the same time, we've talked about this many times before. If it doesn't pencil out for you and it doesn't make sense mathematically, well, you can't do it anyways. I can't make you just make more money to qualify.
It's true.
Sorry, it's people that come to us that want to buy. But then you still have to have kind of conversations. Like, let's be real. There's times when we have to have hard conversations with people that actually want to buy. You have to tell them you can't. Yeah. You have to tell them, like, oh, your credit sucks, and let's fix it. And let's work.
Let's create an action plan.
Right. So, there's kind of, I'm kind of going with like 2 different kind of outcomes here, Memo.
Yeah.
One is, yes, we're absolutely on the team, go buy a home, go invest in real estate, that team. We're also on the team, like, when we got to wear that hat and we're like, look, this doesn't make sense for you. I'm going to tell you it doesn't make sense for you.
Yeah.
There's no advantage for putting people in a situation that they're just going to lose their ass and then get their home taken away.
The other thing to consider too, it's been a difficult couple of years. It's been out of the norm in certain situations of our financial crisis, rates going up so quickly. We never ever seen that. It's just been crazy market. So I think a lot of people are just right now skeptical. They don't understand what they don't understand. It's like, I thought I got it, but things are going in a direction that you can't get it. So I get them too. I understand. And sometimes, there's nothing wrong with waiting for the right opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a good point. I think you should end that on that.